welcome to Kate's Kitchen. I'm Kate. Today I have a guest sous chef. I have Mr. Kareem who's here to help today. Kareem has been fussing to come in, so I decided to bring his stand in and let him help me. Today we're going to be making potato bread. It's an old Amish recipe that I got from a friend of mine on YouTube known as Homestead Tessie. Tessie is a wonderful lady and she makes great food, and this is her recipe tweaked just a little bit for me. What we're going to be using is we're going to have 5 eggs that I've already broken here, 2 cups of mashed potatoes left over from last night. We've got a cup of pure cane sugar, a tablespoon of salt. We'll use 10 cups minimum of flour, a cup of lard, 2 cups of lukewarm water, and 2 tablespoons of yeast. And what we will do, take this out of the way, the yeast I already put in the bottom of this, and we are going to pour the water in, and we're going to put just a little bit of the sugar, and just a touch of the salt. What we're going to do now is we're going to stir that up and give the yeast, the little yeasties, a chance to wake up and get things going. So let me get that well stirred, and then we'll start on the next portion of our recipe. The next thing we're going to do is into our mixing bowl, we're going to add our eggs, the remainder of the sugar we didn't put in with the yeast. We're going to lift our bowl and we're going to beat it. And it's going to be loud, I'm warning you now, so we'll probably turn the sound down. Now that is well combined, we're going to add the salt, we're going to add our lard. This is a full cup of lard. This is going to be a rather large recipe. It's going to make quite a bit of bread. We're making several things today. I thought it was hard getting the lard into the bowl, into the glass jar. Getting it out is just as difficult. And the last thing we're going to add, and as you can see, it's already starting to bubble. That means that the yeast is healthy and it's active. And we're going to put that in there. Be sure we get all of that. And we will turn it on and beat it for a few minutes until it's incorporated a bit, and then we'll add the potatoes and start on adding the flour. So here we go. Alright, it's beginning to emulsify, so we're going to add our potatoes. We'll turn this on slow and let it start going, and then once it's beginning to emulsify, we will turn it up just a little bit, and I'll bring you back when we start adding the flour. We're going to add, I've already added 2 cups of flour, and I'm mixing it on slow. Next thing we're going to do is add 2 more cups and keep mixing it so that it will emulsify. I think my sous chef has a little bit to say about what's going on in here today. Doesn't want to come out. There we go. Now turn this on. I'll let it beat for a little while until it gets a little thicker. Then I'll stop and add some more, and I'll keep doing that over and over again until it forms a little bit of a dough, at which time we'll take the paddle off and put the dough hook on. thing we have to do is wipe down the sides because the flour flies up and it makes a mess. Mr. Cameraman, if you can get a close look at our batter, that's only 4 cups of flour and it's already making a batter. 2 more cups and it'll probably be a strong enough dough that we'll have to change out to the dough hook. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, when you bring flour home from the store, especially if you buy it in bulk, you will have the eggs of a little insect called a weevil in your flour. All flour that you buy at the store has it. What I do to keep those eggs from hatching and becoming little weevil bugs is I place these in it. These are bay leaves. And you put some bay leaves in and pour some flour over it, some more bay leaves, and it stops the weevil eggs from hatching. Now we're going to go slowly. We're going to brush down the sides so that the flour doesn't go all over the room. And I'll bring you back when we have to change out to the dough hook, which I think will be very soon. The dough is now beginning to the batter is beginning to form a dough. And what we're going to do is lower our bowl. We're going to remove this paddle. Scrape as much off as we can, so we don't want to lose any of the good bread. And let me move this. Oh. Thank you, Mr. Cameraman. And now we're going to put the dough hook in. Okay. Now before I raise up the bowl again, I'm going to put another 2 cups of flour. That will make 6 cups of flour that we put in, so this is 7. And 1 more will be 8. It's getting heavy. And now we turn on the dough hook. It's getting thicker, but it's not ready to be pulled out yet. Now it's beginning to form a true dough. 1 more cupful, and we'll let it run for a few minutes, and then it'll be time to take it out and put it on the breadboard and start kneading. Kind of got away from me there. Mom always told me you can't make bread without making a mess. I agree. It is now time to get the breadboard out. Take the dough out of the bowl, put it on the board, and start hand kneading and adding a little more flour. So I'm going to get things set up to do that, and I'll bring you back when I'm in the middle of kneading. You think you could be quiet? Or do I need to put you back in the other room and bring Gandhi out here? Okay. It has finally reached the point where we can take it, if I can get it loose. There we go. Take it out of the mixer. It's still a very, very sticky dough. It will take some work and some time to make it drier and make it turn into bread dough, and some more flour. I have the board all floured up. I'll put a little bit more in here, and we'll turn it out on the board. There's a lot of dough in there still. There we go. This is the part of making bread where you build in the gluten. You allow the gluten to work as you, or to grow as you work the dough. And what we're doing is we're lifting it and pushing it forward. Lifting it and pushing it forward. That's allowing that dough to get stronger, those gluten strings to get longer, and it's also incorporating a little more flour into the dough. We don't want to do too much, because too much flour will make a very heavy bread, and we want a light, pretty bread. So we're continuing to work it, and I'll continue to do this for about 10 minutes. At the end of 10 minutes, I'm going to put it in a bowl that I have set over behind Mr. Cameraman that has been coated with butter. That butter will allow the dough to rise but not stick to the bowl. It will rise for approximately 2 hours. That will make it double in size. At that point, I'll bring you back and show you the next step. Here's the bowl. It's all covered with butter. And now we're going to put our dough, which has been kneaded, into the bowl. I'm going to turn it over a little bit. That's a heavy bunch of dough. Then I'm going to cover it with this damp tea towel. We're going to allow it to rise for 2 hours, and then we'll come back. It's been just at 2 hours. I brought you back. This is our dough. As you can see from the rise on the top, it's gotten a little bigger. So let's take it off and see just how big it was. I would say it's gotten big enough to call that double. First thing we have to do is let out the air. As you can see, it's shrinking down. That means that our yeast was healthy and grew, and it rose up real well. So we're going to put a little bit of flour back on our board. We're going to take the dough out, and we're going to form it. I have some bread pans ready to fill. I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, and I have a muffin tin. We're going to make bread, we're going to make rolls, and we're going to make hamburger buns. There's our dough. Doesn't that look wonderful? I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of flour on it so that it doesn't stick to me. There we go. Oh, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. Each of my pans, I put butter on the bottom, and then put a piece of parchment paper, and then put the butter on the parchment paper too. That'll keep her from sticking to the bottom of the pan. I'm going to cut off a piece of the dough, she says. There we go. Let's grab a little bit more of this flour so it doesn't stick completely. We're going to form it into a loaf. And we'll set that right down in there. And we'll do the next one. And we'll fill all 3 of our pans. All of these things that we're doing right now will have to rise another ½ hour before we put them into an oven. While we're waiting for them to rise, we will set the oven temperature to 350 degrees and get it preheated so that when they're ready to go, we'll just pop them right in. There we go. There are 3. I'm going to set these over here. Now I thought for the fun of it, I would make some, forgotten the name of them, some little rolls. Make 3 little round pieces of dough.
Crescent rolls?
Pardon?
Crescent rolls? No.
No, not crescent rolls. I can't think of the name of them right now. It's come to me. But you make 3 little pieces like that, and you put them right down inside, and they'll raise up together and they'll make a roll. Cloverleaf, that's what they're called, cloverleaf rolls. I have to put a little bit of flour on them each time because they're pretty sticky still. Now this recipe ended up taking just about 12 cups of flour. It was a little more than what the recipe called for, but it's been a real humid day here. And when you're making bread, one of the things you have to think about is the humidity and the temperature in the room you're working in. And unfortunately, because of all the humidity here in Texas right now, it took more flour than expected. Fortunately for me, I had plenty of flour to use. The recipe called for 10 cups, and it ended up taking just about 12, but that also includes the flour that we used when we were rolling it out and doing the kneading. So the actual amount going in just for the bread, not including the kneading, was about 10 cups. And then set aside 2 extras for your working with and handling the rest of them. Fingers want to make these cloverleaf rolls a little bigger than each time I make one. They just want to grow. There we go. And we have the cloverleaf rolls, and they'll rise up, and they'll cook, and they'll be pretty as well. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to make some hamburger buns. And the way we do that is we take a big chunk of this and kind of work it together. And we lay it down. Now you can do this 2 ways. You can either roll it out with a rolling pin, or you can pat it like I did. This is a wide mouth canning jar ring. I don't have a cookie cutter this size, so I use the ring. That will make a perfect hamburger bun. You need to tap just a little bit of the flour each time so that it doesn't stick to your cutter. Pull it away, and there's another hamburger bun. This is a wonderful bread dough. It's very yeasty. It tastes great. And I love all the different things you can make with it. Now these will, like everything else, rise up and get much bigger. Right now they look like they're pretty small hamburgers, but they'll rise up and they'll get a lot bigger than they are right now. The other thing I've seen people use this dough for, and I don't have the recipe so I can't do it tonight, but I'm going to do it next time, and that is make sticky buns. The sweet rolls that you can have for breakfast with brown sugar and pecans and all kinds of good stuff like that all rolled into them. But I don't know what all goes into it, so that's not one thing I can do. Whoops, ran out of room. Let those rise. Now the rest of this, I think what I'm going to do for the moment is wrap it in plastic and put it in the fridge until I get a chance to go and find out about how to make the sticky buns, and then maybe I'll make those later tonight. But for now, we're going to let everything I've just made rise for half an hour. During the time it's rising, we'll be letting the oven preheat to 350 degrees, and then in half an hour, we'll start putting them in and cooking them. The bread will cook until it is a light golden brown, and when you thump it on the top, it sounds hollow. That means that'll be ready to go. The rolls, we're not going to let cook quite as long. First of all, they're smaller. And secondly, you don't want dark brown rolls. You want light brown rolls. So we'll let them go until they're just a very light golden brown. And the same with the hamburger buns. By then, I'll know what I'm going to do with the rest of this. So I'm going to go away for about half an hour and let those things rise in the oven heat, and then I'll bring you back when they've been in and cooked and come out and let you see the end of it. Alright, I have something exciting to show you. The oven has reached its temperature. It's been a half an hour. Now it's time to show you how it's risen. First we're going to look at the cloverleaf rolls. Now I would say those are some really pretty risen up cloverleaf rolls. I can't wait to get those in the oven. Next, on the far side, we're going to show you the hamburger buns. Look at how big and pretty those have gotten already. And finally, our 3 loaves of bread are all swelling to fit into theirs. I'm going to put them in the oven. I'm going to put these first, and then when these come out, I'll put those in. Cook them until they're all lightly brown, probably 25 to 30 minutes for these, and 18 or so minutes for those. And then I'll bring you back when everything's done and ready to look at the beautiful finished product. Our final thing is ready to come out of the oven. I've got to tell you, this cooking has been driving us all crazy in the house tonight. These are the cloverleaf rolls that I made earlier. You see they did rise up pretty. I didn't get them quite as brown as the others because when they're ready to be served, we want them warm. So I'll pop them back in the oven to warm them up, and that'll brown them the rest of the way. Next we have our 3 beautiful loaves of bread. They're all nice and soft because I kept the blanket on them while they were cooling. Then we have these gorgeous hamburger buns. Aren't they beautiful? They did so well. And finally, out of what was left over, I made sticky buns. And the sticky buns are going to be a special treat for my cameraman, my husband Dave, for all he's done to help me out tonight. So I have our lovely sticky buns, and I'm going to put some goodie on it. Follow me please, Mr. Cameraman, around. Now while I'm fixing this, I want to give a little special shout out tonight. I don't know if you've noticed or not. Excuse me, kitty. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I have a new apron. This is a beautiful apron in purple, my favorite color. And it was sent to me by a viewer and friend, and also someone I moderate for who does live streams. This came from Susie Bandana Grandma, and she did this one just especially for me, and I'm so thrilled to have it. Thank you very much, Susie, for all you've done for me. And now, let's make our cameraman a goodie. The icing I'm putting on it is a very simple icing. Powdered sugar, milk, a little bit of butter, and some vanilla. And we're just putting it over the top to make it nice and pretty. The sticky buns have brown sugar, cinnamon, walnuts, and just a little bit of maple syrup on them. And that was all cooked into them. So now, as you can see, it's ready to go. So Mr. Cameraman and lovely viewers, here you are. Thank you very much. Bye. Take care.